Welcome everyone, this is Karthik. Can you all hear me good? All right, so welcome everyone to the webinar on security testing. Thank you all for being here. I hope at this moment you can see the screen. All right. All right, team. So let's get started. So team, I also have Shan with me, who has joined me to for training primarily on various tools. He will also be focusing in security testing. So quick introduction. What you're seeing right now is the screen from Shan. Shan has been in the testing industry for over 8 years, and he has been primarily focused on functional application testing, but as part of his role, he has also significant exposure on the security testing area. So having said that, Shan, welcome to the session.
Yeah, thanks, Karthik.
All right, excellent. So team, let me give a quick idea about what we're trying to do in this entire webinar. Primarily, it's a short presentation, but what we wanted to put together, in fact, Shan would be the person who will have most of these presentations on the slides. The intent is to, Shan, if you can go to the agenda slide, then we can get started from there.
Sure.
And can you also put it on slideshow, please, so that we have the full screen of it? Awesome. There you go. So here is the high-level agenda. It is basically to introduce all the participants, listeners, and the viewers of this video session that will come up later to what security testing is all about, what can it do to your career in QA, how can you go about learning security testing, and how should you use it for your job interviews and so on. That is the primary simple intent of the short presentation. Towards the end of it, we will do a lot of questions. You can then get going from there. All right, Shan, so it's all on to you from now on. As needed, all participants who are attending the live, please use the question section to post questions so that between me and you, we can ask Shan some relevant questions and get some thoughts from him. Thanks, Shan. Go ahead.
Yes. Good evening, team, and welcome to security testing. I'm Shan, having about 8 years of experience in the field of IT. I bring a wealth of experience from top-class MNCs in focus on functional automation and security aspects of it. And I believe my presentation as well as my training is going to make a lot of impact in the way that you perceive things with respect to security. All right, so let's get first focus on security testing and its taxonomy, or what we call it as the common terminologies used in security testing aspects. There are a lot of security testing aspects. However, we will focus only on software security testing. Right. So what is this security testing all about? We are trying to evaluate the quantum of risks. It's a process in which we are trying to evaluate the quantum of risks within our web-based application, that is the application under test, and we point out the security vulnerables using various techniques and tools. By this, we are ensuring that there is no data theft, there is no unauthorized access, or there is no security compromise that has been made to our systems. Fine. So the first thing that we need to understand in this particular concept is the terminologies or the taxonomies used in security testing world. First is vulnerability scanning. So vulnerability scanning is usually performed using tools, automated software tools, which scans for the basic known vulnerables, known issues using the known techniques. So it is an automated process. There are tools available for us to actually do this vulnerability scanning. It uses various security. SARA, SARA is a tool, is an example of this particular vulnerability scanning tool. The next is the security scanning aspect. So vulnerability scanning is an automated software scanning, whereas security scanning, we do an assessment manually along with the software scanning. The reason is every tool has its own pros and cons. Tools helps us to build a robust application, whereas we will not be able to believe the tool 100%. Every tool has its own bottlenecks. That's the reason why, in addition to the software testing, the automated software scanning, we also perform manual testing. That is going to system responses, examining the log files, error messages, error codes, and whatnot. So this is one other aspect of security testing. All right. So the next terminology that we often use is pen testing or penetration testing. This is the real-time simulation environment that is used like a client side, a mirror of a client image, wherein we perform a security testing or a penetration testing. It's totally a black box. It is a hacker's approach, the way in which hackers use it, but it is done in an environment where the other people will not gain access to it. It is internally done within the organization without breaching any security terms. It is performed on an application which is an application under test internally. There is no data integrity or the confidential information is let out. It is performed internally by the security testing with all ethical considerations in place. Whereas the next thing that we also talk about is the security auditing. This auditing is for a specific control or for compliance issue. Usually the compliance team or the risk evaluating team actually performs this security auditing or security assessment. So very frequent the audit is more error prone or more against security vulnerabilities our systems are. And then finally the security review. The name says it all. It's like a code walkthrough and inspection. Like it's a static testing wherein we perform security review as per the industry standards by reviewing documents, architecture diagrams, and also by performing gap analysis, which is very, very important. So this activity does not utilize any other earlier approaches like the vulnerability scanning or security scanning. It is basically for code reviews and utilizing also looking at the architecture diagrams and documents.
So Shan, if I may ask a question at this point.
Yes.
So you're talking about a kind of almost like a life cycle of how the security testing is performed, starting with vulnerability scanning all the way through the review as a process for performing security testing, correct?
Exactly. These are all the various taxonomies or terminologies used during the whole process.
So if I have, let's say, if my application is a small, so let's say any of us working for a small client, they have a small testing team, let's say about 20 people in the testing organization overall. And there's no one really dedicated to perform security testing. So not every team is performing all these stages, correct? So
Exactly.
They might be only doing some amount of scanning or auditing. They may not be doing any vulnerability scanning or using any tools with it. So,
perfect.
And that specific cycle that you have is basically an approach, and every company customizes this approach depending on what it is.
Exactly. Yeah, it all depends on the project requirements and also how important our security scope is. That is very, very important. We should not confuse like all the web-based application to go through all these processes, which is time consuming and also it is not economical.
Right. So for example, this process could be more rigorously established and detailed for a financial company or a government organization or a military organization, and not so much for a non-financial or even a simpler like a let's say travel industry or so. It could be different, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. Whenever we talk about this financial industry, the data is very critical. So we should not let the data to be misused by anyone else. So data theft as well as the security in terms of, because we are all talking in terms of dollars or money. So it involves a lot of transactions. So that's the reason why the scope of security testing is more pronounced in such kind of industries, and a very normal website. So wherein we just see the data and there is nothing much to actually penetrate or steal the data, there is no scope of penetration testing data.
Sounds good. Thanks. So for all QA professionals, why should they learn security testing? I'm assuming that's the next slide automatically that we're getting into.
Exactly. Yeah, we are just approaching that. So we will first understand the importance of a security testing standpoint. As Karthik has explained, that it is not a skill that everyone has across the organization. Only few people has it, and also it is not a standalone skill. A person is not dedicatedly doing a security testing here. What we are talking about is a person who is into manual testing or automation testing, performs enhances his knowledge over a period of time in this security testing, and then it needs a lot of patience, dedication, and also out-of-box thinking when it comes to security testing. It is part of QA life cycle. However, we test it based on a logical approach, like at what point of time we should be performing the security testing. So as we have discussed already, it is only few people across the organization actually go for it. In the sense, we'll have the particular skill set, but it is a great add-on, people who actually do this manual or automation testing. The reason is very simple. When we talk about a functional automation testing, we have got the test cases in place, we execute it, and then we project our results. Whereas security testing is a strategy. It's a strategy, it's not a tactics that you follow. We need to understand the security bottlenecks and also the concepts very clearly, how the browser interacts with web apps, and to understand the various other tools, so as to understand the gaps or the issues that exist in our systems. So we need an out-of-box thinking here. It's not a test case execution that we are talking about. It's about a strategy that we need to adopt and enhance our skills towards this particular field of security testing. But it is no doubt, it is a key differentiator during interviews and resume screening. A person who has got security testing into his resume always has an added advantage. And most importantly, what they actually expect is not a theoretical understanding, like I know vulnerability scanning, I'm aware of vulnerability assessment or pen testing. No. We need to have a hands-on. We need to have an experience. So we should have braked or performed the penetration testing in our local systems or in our local the application and the test. So what is very important is the practical knowledge, hands-on, practical, with also the tools which we use for our testing purposes. So this actually is very important, or the focus should be for every QA engineer.
So Sean,
hopefully hopefully I have answered your question, Karthik.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I worked with you to build this specific slide with the intent, and let me put it again to the team and the participants here is that. So primarily, it is not like a QTP or a Selenium where I am probably beginning my career in testing, and I believe that QTP has a very wide job market. Let me learn it, go get it. I could already be in testing, or I could be someone beginner, but apart from having the core skill on a functional automation tool or a functional testing, security testing is a great add-on to what you already have. That is one, correct? And if I have a large organization of about, let's say, 100 people in the QA team, there could be 2 or 3 people who are absolutely dedicated to working on security testing because these applications are critical. A lot of important financial or customer related information is stored in there. But at the same time, as the cycle goes through, we may be pulling in about 15-20 people who will also contribute into that entire security testing strategy and execution, right? And that is the primary thing. So basically, when you go and apply yourself into the job markets and you say that, yes, I have a good practical exposure into the security testing world, is an absolutely great add-on to have, correct? Go on, Shan. So that's basically the summary of what I thought I should put in. Go on.
Fantastic. Thanks, Karthik. And coming back to the slides, so we have just seen the importance of security testing. We also should know why people are stressing so much on security. We have been seeing the recent attacks. Just I wanted to consolidate all these things so that you understand the importance of security testing very clearly. We always assume that top class companies have got the best security applications, or they develop the world best in class secured, most secured applications. And also all their systems are perfect and not prone for attacks. But that's not the case. It's just an assumption. Whereas what happens in reality is different. If you see, even the South Korean banks attacked by Chinese hackers, damaging 32,000 computers and servers in March 2013, just a month back. Even Microsoft was hacked as that of Apple and Facebook. So Microsoft, Apple, and Facebook have been hacked. So we assume that technology companies build robust web applications, or their systems are always having the tightened security. Whereas security concept, whereas just the breach in security, the hackers will be able to penetrate and able to steal the confidential information. Twitter was hacked and 250,000 accounts were affected in February 2013. The same case with New York Times, it was attacked by Chinese hackers. Most importantly, even Yahoo was hacked by an Egyptian hacker. So what actually happened in Yahoo, they used a SQL injection. It's a technique wherein they penetrated into the Yahoo, which was using Microsoft SQL Server database. So it can happen on various layers, not just on the web server. It can also happen on the database layer. Okay, and then we also see that there is a Carolina taxpayer server hacked, which actually has affected 3.6 million social security numbers, as compromised the social security numbers. So what here this means to us is the security or the web applications are not just for prone for attacks, but also the network infrastructure, the database layer, and also the web services that is running for catering the web clients, also prone for attacks. So the hackers try and penetrate into each one of these possible areas, and then they get handful of information which is good enough for them to penetrate very quickly. So what is the hacker's intent? So it is just not just getting all the data from the system, even one particular piece of information that becomes vital for them to penetrate. Yes, Karthik.
Right. No, great. So basically, again, this is more like the severity to which it can go. But even the security breaches can be much more subtle, simpler. It's just like saying an application after going into production still has some defects or bugs, and then the users have experienced it, and then it had to get fixed, right? And the severities could be small, medium to large, just like applications crashed overalls and so on. So this is giving a significant idea as to the importance of it to what level it can go, even with all the precautions taken, which only means that we have to get more and more better eventually at the entire life cycle and the strategy that is involved into security testing, right?
Okay, yes, Karthik.
Perfect. So, and what it also means is that as you go through these, there's a lot to learn in security testing. There could be various, and as you rightly said in the beginning, that the mindset of how we think has to be different. It is not like I've written a test case, now I have to go and execute it. We need to be thinking a little out of the box, but the intent is also to structure everything as a process. Correct?
Correct. Yes, Karthik.
Great. Go on, Sean.
So coming to the scope and demand for software testers, so we can see in various job portals people asking for security testing professionals, which along with the automation or manual skill set. So there is a wide range of security opportunities, security testing or penetration testing professionals who can seek their career into software testing. So the way in which we need to build upon our skills is what are all the possible ways a hackers can penetrate into the system. There are various strategies that open source web application security protocol, that is OWASP, popularly known as OWASP, has listed. There are various vulnerabilities in web-based applications, and they revised it year on year. What is the maximum, or what is the maximum severity oriented issues? So we need to concentrate on those areas and then develop our skills to understand each one of those techniques, and it would be better if we actually have also hands-on using tools. Most of the tools in the market are used for scanning or security scanning purposes. So what we need to do here is that understand how we can attack it manually. That will give us a hands-on experience as well as the understanding of the concepts. Thereby, we can try and penetrate into the application and the test. Because all the automated software, as I told already, is not having 100% coverage in terms of security standards. Each software has its own pros and cons, whereas understanding it thoroughly, like what tool can do and what tool cannot do, is what is required when we are using tools. Apart from that, manual testing is mandatory because we should go through logs, we should go through the response from the server, we should also give malicious input and test it. So that is how we develop this particular skill set. And then when we talk about cracking an interview, it is all about how we actually project ourselves when it comes to this particular skill set. It is not a straightforward question, like as we have told already. So it's not a straightforward thing that we ask about, so QTP or Selenium or maybe any other tool in the market. So it's an added advantage, but you need to exhibit the skills and the maturity level when it comes to an interview. So this is a consolidated slide which is talking about the scope. However, we will also like to put in the job trend from Indeed.com. So we can see clearly the way in which the demand arose from 2006 to 2013, and it's in an increasing, or I would call it as a progressively or exponentially increasing demand for security testers. Though in highlight, like it is not just the security testing, but also understanding either having a good hands-on on manual or automation skills, it is an advantage. Okay, so we can see here very clearly it's from 0%, it has hit 150, it skyrocketed to 150 in 2009 and a little bit of downturn and again touched its peak in 2013. The reason is the recent trends in which the web applications are built are different the way in which it was built 5 or 10 years, a decade back. So the recent technology, even the cloud computing has got its security vulnerabilities. That's the reason why few companies are showing resistance towards moving towards the cloud-based systems. So this is the reason why the security testing trend jobs keeps on going, and it is on demand always.
So primarily,
So
if we
Karthik,
look
do you
at
want to add anything?
yeah, last 6-7 years, while there's been significant growth, you can see that from 2009 and so on, it's been more steady. Little bit of decline that has happened in the last 1 year that you can see in the graph. But the intent is very simple. It's another skill that has been creating its own job market. It's got a great demand. All I can say is if you go to a Dice, a Monster, an Indeed, or a career builder and do your own local search in your city and see, you may see not many jobs as compared to a QTP or Selenium and so on, or any of the other manual testing jobs. But it's got its own speciality, and also the number of skilled people in this area is very limited. And that's the reason we strongly believe that it's a great tool to learn. With everyone getting towards web-based apps more and more and getting to the cloud way of doing things, this is going to be a bigger focus, because now it is not about seeing who's actually walking into your premises. It is about who is using and looking into your data that is stored somewhere else in the cloud.
Okay. Thanks, Karthik. And let's talk about the principles of security testing. So what are all we have initially seen the the taxonomies and also the importance of security testing. Now it's principles of security testing, software security testing. As we have been discussing, the first and foremost thing that we need to understand is thinking strategically, not tactically. It is, again, to reiterate, it is not a test case, manual test case execution here. We are talking about a strategy, how to break a system, how to break the web-based application. Okay, so in the last few years, like the way in which we develop is to patch and then penetrate model. So whatever the gaps in the security, what we do is that we report a bug, the patch is released without making proper root cause or impact analysis. So even operating systems or even any product for that matter should be strategically approached. So and test early and test often. So yes, we follow the software development lifecycle. The same software development lifecycle fits in here. Right from the design till the delivery, we should ensure that we are testing our web-based application in a focused approach. In each one of these phases, we should give importance for security testing, not just for automation or manual, but also for security to ensure that final product is what we expect. And understanding the scope of security is the most important thing. The reason is, as we have said already, for a banking or financial application, the scope of security is more, whereas the scope of security will not even come into the picture for an open source web application where you just go and download stuffs, right? And using the right tools is one other aspect of it. So we have understood clearly like what tools can do and what tools cannot do, so that we will be able to focus on the manual testing part as well. So tools help us to build robust application, but it will not give us an error-free application. It is, the end result is not an error-free application, but it is helping us to build the right application. So, and using source code when available. This is for a white box testing point of view. When we have the source code in place, when we do a code walkthrough and code inspection or the architecture review, we will be able to find the bottlenecks. So we will be able to spot on immediately. So that is the reason why we stress on utilizing the source code when it is available. When we have the source code, go through it. As a security testing professional, it's good to have a coding knowledge, the way in which it has been coded. And finally, we should develop the metrics and document the results. The reason of this important point about this is, today we are testing in the sense, the context here is, when we are testing it, we are approaching strategically. As we have said already, it is not a test case by test case. So this itself is leading to a conclusion wherein we need to document what has been tested and what's not. It's not a functional testing, it's a non-functional. So we need to ensure that what are all the strategies adopted, what are all the inputs, what has been passed, what are all the techniques like SQL injection or cross-site scripting or insecure configuration. Be whatever it is, we should ensure that we are developing these metrics and document the results for the benefit of the impact analysis in the future, so that we understand what has been tested. If it has not been tested, so that it is easy for us to add more to the test sets or the strategy of our software testing. So this is consolidatedly giving us a picture towards the principles of software testing. So moving towards the prerequisite. So this is one of the biggest questions that might be going on in your mind, like what are the prerequisites for becoming a software testing professional? It's just understanding the basics of web-based application, basic web technologies, how it works. And next is the basic database, in the sense just how to query a database. And then finally, the most important towards the top of the pyramid, if you see here, it's the changing the mindset. We should have an approach, the way in which are similar to how a hacker might think. Even a small, input towards in the address bar, whatever you see, might be malicious. So we should always consider all the input are malicious. For example, if we get into the airport, everyone is checked independent of who you are. It means that we are testing thoroughly in all aspects, independent of who we are. So this has put under a limelight wherein all the security testers should have a negative approach towards an application, like it has got a defect and I need to penetrate. So this is all about the prerequisite, and these are the topics that we are going to cover as a part of our security sessions, which is going to be scheduled in a while. So for live sessions that's going to be conducted for all these topics, it's about 25 hours roughly. First, we will go through the protocols in depth, encryption methodologies, encoding, hashing, and the way in which cookies work, and the penetration testing process, and basic CAA. CAA stands for confidentiality, integrity, and authenticity triad. We will understand the OWASP. OWASP is Online Web Application Security Protocol, wherein we have got all the vulnerabilities listed, as I have discussed already. OWASP is an open source project wherein they list all the vulnerabilities of a security of a web-based application, and they revise it year on year based on the number of attacks. And finally, we will also, all these things are coupled along with the theoretical as well as the practical sessions. It's not that it is going to be a monotonous theory sessions. You will do the side-by-side hacking or the penetration testing of the applications that are under test. We will take the sample applications and we will try and penetrate through as much as we can. So there are various topics as well as the lab sessions that are involved, and we will circulate what are all those lab sessions in the training session details in our portal. And also we will focus on the exploring open source tools and techniques. And finally we will end up the training session with a challenge round. So wherein you take up the challenge, perform end-to-end penetration testing of a sample application. It has got all the details wherein how to actually attack and all. So you will be given a sample application and it's a challenge for you to test based on all the concepts that we cover. Apart from that, we also have the lab sessions parallelly that is going on for each one of our sessions. Finally, I would actually love to iterate that these sessions is going to create a lot of impact. At the end of the sessions, I bet you that you are more dangerous than anyone else. Like you can go and hack any live websites, but please use it for ethical hacking, which can be used internally within your organization. You will be dangerous, I'm telling you. So we are covering all the concepts and we will try and understand it in a very practical manner, practical approach, and we will ensure that you are having a very good hands-on as well, not just walking through the theoretical aspects of it. So finally, now the forum is open for question and answers. I have also got a couple of questions. So just give me a minute. So are Sarbanes Auxiliary Acts covered in this training? So it's just, this is something to do with the software security testing. Sarbanes and Auxiliary Act, it's an act in the sense it's the kind of law in place. So it's nothing to do with our security testing approach as well. Security testing here, what we are going to discuss is the various strategies that we will adopt for hacking a web-based application. The concept here is security testing for a web-based applications. There are a lot of security involved, like there might be a network security, infrastructure security, but the agenda here is software testing and security aspects of it. Since the security testing is only done in dedicated but secured environment, how we can practice what we learn in this training? We can't practice this on any websites like what we do for QTP or Selenium. So what are our options? The thing is that security testing is a strategy. It's not that you cannot practice in your systems. You can install the sample application in your desktop and then start penetrating it. And with regards to your second part of your question, even the application under test, what we actually perform on a real-time environment in our organizations, we focus on the security aspects of it. So we are able to perform security testing even within our domains where the company operates. So it's not restricted by any means. The concept is what you need, and then you can build thereon. So it's open for you to test in your desktop as well. So will we get training in SQL injections? Of course, it's one of the major areas, and I will give you at least 10 exercises on SQL injection. So there are a lot of sample applications. We will have a lot of hands-on, and we will keep understanding the concepts clearly and thoroughly in all aspects. At what stage of, next question is, what stage of testing life cycle? One second, sorry. What stage of testing life cycle? Security testing done. It is done across all the stages. As we have shown in slides, test early and test often is the concept. So we need to start testing it early, right from walkthroughs and inspections until the end or delivery of the product. And the next question is, do we need programming skills needed for this course? Programming skills, logical thinking is required. Programming we can manage. So it's not that you have to have programming skills for you to understand the security aspects of it, but if we see what is happening using the JavaScript and all, but when we go through the flow, I will just explain you very clearly what's been happening. Will this training be a code-based? Will we used to validate the security like hacking methods? Exactly. We will be using all the OWASP, like Open Source Web Application Security Protocol, vulnerabilities listed, and we will go through each one of those. We'll take each one of those, perform the attack on the sample application, and see how the application behaves. Like what are all the loop codes? Can you repeat CAA triad? CAA is nothing but confidentiality, integrity, and authenticity. So it's a concept that we are yet to deal in detail. It is just, I have just given a highlight that we would be covering that aspect as well. What is your next question is, what is your approach to teach students to test applications deployed in cloud and virtualized environment? How about testing mobile applications? Good question. First thing that we need to understand here is how to actually penetrate into a web-based application using various concepts. Building the cloud, deploying a system on a cloud is just like one other system. And also like mobile testing is the sub-classification of the actual web-based testing. So first we need to understand is that how we are going to hack or use our concepts in dealing our sample application, when dealing with our sample application, and also how we are going to tackle those particular areas, various areas that we are going to deal with. So that is more important. Later on, building upon this virtualized environment or on cloud is just going to be an extension of application knowledge. First is to get the basics right, and we are also covering on most advanced topics. So, but it's not on a cloud or a mobile app, but it is mainly a majority. It's focused on web-based application. We can apply the same logic for mobile applications using simulators. How anybody hack the FTP login information and database connection credential as server pages run only on server side? Yes, servers. These things, offline questions, we will take it up during our sessions. So the hacking happens on not just on the client side, but on the server side. But we need to understand concepts so that we can answer these questions in a logical manner. So do we get the PowerPoint slides via email? This video would be posted on our portal. So feel free to go walk through this video. You will have a fair understanding of what we have discussed. Are you going to teach any commercial security tools? No. We are going to deal only with open source tools and also the pros and cons. And the reason is most security tools are automated ones. In the sense, tools itself will do job for you to some extent. But here, what we are here is to understand the loopholes in security. For us to do that, we need to understand what are all the loopholes and how to do it. Because the software itself will do it. There are predefined criteria for each one of those vulnerabilities, and automated software performs on it. Whereas manual testing, we need to understand, we think logically, or sometimes even best coding practices might hamper us. So we need to understand the context here. So we will explore the tools, but it is all open source. Webinar is nice and knowledgeable, but all these tasks are done by SOC member in the company, not by QA. In the sense, all these things, in the sense, over a period of time when you develop your skills towards security, because even I started my career as a software testing professional in manual testing. Later on, I found automation interesting. Later on, I developed my skill set or my interest towards security, and now I am a security consultant. So in the sense, it's the way in which we approach things, the path that we choose. So we have to pick our opportunity and then we have to explore it. It's not that it is just done by a group of people. So we should be part of one of those groups is the idea. Is it necessary to have a security testing tool or just a manual knowledge? So it's good to have both. Like there are various tools in the market. I'm telling you, almost all tools are automated. You can just configure it to your portal and just you click on evaluate security button. It evaluates through and then gives us what are all the gaps. But that's not our agenda here. I would like to reiterate, tools help us to build a very good, robust application. But understanding it tactically or strategically is what we are here for. Prerequisite having knowledge in DB script, QTP, basics of DBMS, no knowledge on web technologies is enough to learn, master and implement security in my organization. So we will start with the basics only. So it's not that we are going, if you see the prerequisites, it's all very, very basic stuffs like how a database works. Still, we will touch base on all those topics when we come up, and also we will start even with the protocol, how it actually works. So we are going to start from the basics, but it is good to have a basics. It's an added advantage. How many sessions will we have? So it's approximately 25 hours. So even if we calculate roughly 1 hour each day, we are able to finalize the dates. However, approximately 25 hours is what we are targeting for. So could you please name some tools that will be used as a part of security testing course? So SQL Inject Me, Acunetics. We will also go through Web Security, all those things are there. So NStalker is one more commercialized tool. Still we can evaluate our potential security vulnerabilities. So do we have a checklist to perform security testing, as how we have our test cases and how is testing started? Yeah. So it's not a standard checklist, but we have to approach strategically. Like we have the list of security issues that has happened, and all those things are numbered based on the criticality and severity in Open Web Application Security Protocol project, OWASP. So that is the baseline for us to build upon. If the organization I work doesn't have security testing plans or dedicated security tester, then it is right to include the security testing plan scenarios in the test plan I create. It's good to always have the security testing performed on an application rather than not performing it at all, right? So if we don't have a dedicated resource comes depending upon the project scope and functionality. We discussed it clearly, like banking or financial applications where very sensitive information is there. We focus on those aspects. But if we are talking about a less secure or it's not of that critical application, then we need to focus what is required, because hackers are there in net to understand, to hack the information that are required or that are sensitive in nature. So we need to understand the context and implement it according to the application or the project. So I have answered all your questions almost, and I'm not left with anyone. Once we established and experienced in testing, we perform security testing. So it's all done from my side. I have answered all your questions. Karthik, it's over to you.
Yeah, in fact, there are a few more questions coming. Most of them are repeat of what has happened so far. But team, we will also publish a document like we have done for other courses, where you can continue to post questions on this related topic and continue to get answers. We will also be announcing shortly with the entire training program. In fact, most of the details have been sent out in the email, and they're also available on the website. So you can start registering yourself for 1 or 2 demo sessions and take an evaluation from there on. Shan, in fact, I had 2 or 3 questions, in fact, on behalf of the audience that I wanted to ask. So one is, if there is an individual who is more like a beginner into QA, let's say less than 2 years of experience, would you recommend security testing as a skill to add?
First of all, it depends upon the company in which they are actually in.
But let's say that if they are looking at it more to either get into a job or switch jobs, let's say they are currently in the market and not employed.
Okay, then it would be a very good added advantage, because you will be having practical knowledge about the tools as well as the techniques. However, basic understanding is required. Like, we will touch base the basics. However, we will not be able to go to the very granular level to start with this type of testing. We will just assume a few things that you will understand, so and so things. So the assumption is that very basic how web-based applications work. So if there is a web server or database server, how it communicates. So something like that.
So, okay, again, assuming that they learn it, they acquire the skill, this adds value even if you're not a seasoned QA professional.
Exactly, yeah.
Correct?
Because it is going to help us long term, as well as it is going to help us when we are looking for jobs, because it puts you in limelight, like what security testing that you have performed. Like, you can tell, these are all the techniques that I know, these are all the tools that I know. These are the tools we have used for evaluation purpose. Still, I will be able to use it effectively for my organization. So it's we have to build upon our skills over a period of time.
And I'm assuming also that as part of this training program that you're coming up with, you would be able to guide people and the participants on mock interview sessions, or what typically is expected to be asked in an interview, or how they assess, right?
Exactly, yes. We will touch base on those topics. Probably we will have 1 hour session after the entire course to let them know, like, what are all the aspects like an interviewer might look for. in terms of security testing standards.
Perfect, nice. So last question before I let you go, Shan, on this is, what kind of a pay scales are we looking? Not necessarily because most of our audience is global, but not from a specific number. But let's say in comparison with the manual testing, or in comparison with a load runner or QTP or a Selenium and so on.
Come up again, please. Sorry, I couldn't understand the question. When compared to load runner or Selenium, what is the
what kind of a pay scale or billing rates one can expect for security testing?
It's blindly it's double. So it's double. So if a manual tester is being charged or is being utilized for say $10 per hour, it's obviously it's $20 an hour for a security testing profession. The reason is the skill set is niche, and also it's a demanding skill set. Not everyone has it, but a proved or seasoned security testing professional is always billed on a higher rate than even the performance or an automation engineer.
So if we talk about, let's say, about $40 an hour is the billing rate, which is typically on the lower side for the manual testing professional in the US, and let's say about $55 an hour or $60 an hour for a QTP or a Selenium professional, are we looking more like the 55, 60 or higher for a security professional?
I strongly believe that it is almost double. So at least you would be paid $75 an hour.
Okay.
The reason I have told clearly, like it's a very niche skill set.
Right, and I understand.
One has to prove that skill set. It's of course the proving and also the way in which they have actually worked on actually matters.
Exactly, and it is not like there could be 100 jobs in testing in a given location. There could be 50 in automation testing, but there may be only 5 or 10 in security testing. The number of jobs are limited. The number of people applying to it is limited. Yes, it's a niche skill, but it's also a high-paying job.
Exactly.
And team, on behalf of me and Shan, we thank everyone to join, and hopefully you will go back and review the video. We hope to see you in the future demo session that is hopefully going to be conducted in a week's time from now. And the whole intent will be to give you the practical skill that is needed for you to get into a job or execute and do a great job in your project. All right, so thank you, Shan, for a wonderful session. I appreciate you doing this. And
thanks a lot.
Wish the best for everyone.
And, yeah, thanks a lot, and all the best for everyone. I hope my session has made the difference. Join our training program. You will be able to explore all the probable security concepts, and also it's all practical oriented. It's not a theory based sessions that we are looking at. It will make a difference, and I bet that you will be vulnerable.
And I'm sure ITeLearn audience knows the fact that we don't market our courses, we don't sell our courses. It is primarily for you to go join the demo sessions and then take a decision of how and when is the right time to learn this tool in your career, and wish you all the best from there on.
All the best for everyone.
Thanks everyone. Bye. Thank you. Thanks, Shan. Bye now.